Good morning, everyone. This is Tikwe, also known as Richard, playing another game today as the French versus Criteria as the Holy Roman Empire. This was a game that we tried to do the early French rush and specifically focusing on managing the right resources to get the best advantage in rushing. As you can see, when we start off the game, you have your first few villagers already on the sheep, town center producing your first four villagers, and the scouts looking for some more sheep so you don't run out of food. But the strategy works like this. Um, so we did a little bit of math. If you go and check on your horses, right? They have a specific amount of cost to them. Remember, this is an intermediate channel. I'm no pro. I'm just trying out all the different strategies that the people are talking about. But specifically with the French, you have the School of Cavalry that produces your Royal Knight. It's 140 food and 100 gold. That is quite expensive resources for early game. And the problem with just having horsemen, you also need some form of siege to actually apply more pressure so you can actually win the game instead of just constantly sieging and not getting anywhere. And that's kind of what happened in this game. He had some really good defense and really good economy to keep up with all the consistent raiding that was happening from my side. And also on the archery range, if you have 10 archers, you can produce them in the second age as well, in the feudal age. That's 300 food and 500 wood as well. So to have that on top of villagers, it starts accumulating to about 2,200 food, 1,800 wood, and 730 odd gold that you need uh, to get that combo going. So you have to kind of choose and decide when you feel comfortable with attacking or defending or and checking their playstyle when you choose that. So as the French, you can see the standard starters, they're on their sheep, my first villagers on the house. I'm not going to show the perspective of the enemy right away. I will show it closer to the middle game so you can actually see when he starts defending. But I want to show you from my perspective the line of sight, some of the mistakes I've made as the French, things I could possibly have done better. And you can see my scouts going out here. I was surprised that I didn't find any sheep. On this map, it is called the Ascent Spires. Usually, a lot of people start on the water here at the back, building a dock and then going for some deep sea fish. But when I scouted out, I only found one deep sea fish right here. There was a second pond here. You can see there is some shore fish that you can use as well. You don't necessarily need a dock. You can even just put a mill close by, and the villagers will gather that food. It's a really nice food income. Just have to make sure that it stays secured. So right now, still, almost this whole front right side of the map explored, and still no sheep. So I was kind of getting nervous here. But as soon as my villagers hit this 200 mark, immediately you'll see I'll start moving them away. You can see on this side the resources up moving, but we'll focus on the French playstyle specifically. I did add an extra 5 villagers um, to the build queue because it doesn't have help. Excuse me. It doesn't help having your cavalry. Um, what do you call it? Your feudal age cavalry building. Sorry, guys. It doesn't help having that if you don't have any resources to train out of it. So your transition needs to be as smooth as possible. You can see now because I don't have enough sheep, um, these villagers that were standing on the side were actually just not gathering and waiting for a spot. So the sheep was a little bit late. That I could have done a lot quicker. You can see that the enemy scout, he's checking out what I'm doing. He wouldn't have spotted this from the outside, but he did see I am farming some wood, so I'm going to check if he's coming around. So he just ran past just to kind of know where I am. Um, While the villagers are building, you hold shift, and you can give them a second command. So as soon as this building is done, you'll see they'll move into the direction to go do a secondary task that you put them to. But here I got very lucky with the scout, starting to find some extra sheep. I actually didn't see the one that popped up just here at the corner right now. Um, Bad management to have your scout standing around. Always keep him moving, always keep him scouting, because that idle time is time that you lose. And if you have it on keybinds, it's a lot easier to get him around. They call this a triple double. If you get a nice little triple, usually there's a close. If I went this way, there should be a double as well. Um, on the map, and then I find another triple sheep here. So now I'm very, very happy. A lot of food to assist my early game. And you can see, because I didn't really manage my food very well, I just produced my first villager. I have the food, but because I didn't leave the few villagers on gold, I have a single villager on gold. I actually moved them over because I thought I would have more sheep at the early game, which I didn't. So now I had to pull a few villagers off. Now I have the 5 villagers on gold, and Criteria just reached the Fugal HRE. He's also, not playing very bad at all. It's not a bad time, but obviously I got about a minute and a half quicker than he did. And I go for his blacksmith. The blacksmith is only good for the French if you have units and an archery range. So I've invested 300 gold wood here, and essentially I have no defense, no units or anything that there's benefits. So the build order in this regard was not good at all. It would have been much better if those villagers stayed on gold, and I would actually see there the first one, horseman comes out. Now I will have to scramble these villagers just to get enough wood. I thought it would be enough, but I only got 9 wood instead of 10, because I have a little bit of wood. The maximum is 10, and there you can see a few chops there. Now it was enough, and I used them to build a house very soon. But I was scrambling here because look how late I am with the sheep again. That early sheep in the game, guys, that's a game changer. So now I'm only, there was at least 2 or 3 minutes of kind of downtime micromanaging your villagers to get on food, and I only have one night, and this is six minutes into the game. These horses should already be on 2 or 3 horses at about 4 minutes. um, as soon as you reach that feudal age, you use your School of Cavalry. That's the right word, School of Cavalry. It trains units twice as fast in the School of Cavalry than it would from a normal cavalry. And 2 or 3 on the wood line would be enough to, fill any building requirements if you were going for like a castle age. But the plan essentially that I had was to use your horses and harass the enemy. As you can see here, I'm starting to go forward to scout because the units are building. I want to know if I'm just pausing here to see if I'm going to go in from the front, am I going in from the side, because if you look at my base, it is in like a little canyon. So the line of sight from the town center and from towers becomes a lot less. When you're playing against the French, just remember spearmen will save you so much trouble. They are such a good counter versus cavalry. You can see the damage is only 6, but versus cavalry is 15, and they brace. So for a unit like this, which is really strong in the second age, it's 190 health, 30 damage, and they have extra damage when they charge, but they do much, much less um, versus spearmen. Spearmen are really, really strong. But you can see on his side, he's actually sitting on a very good stage right now. If I was harassing him, if I had a much better early game, these horses would have already been in his base. So he's sitting on 600 gold, 700 food. So it seems like he's going for a fast castle. I don't know that yet. I'm only starting to scout him out. I see the few spears. I see the barracks. I know he's preparing to defend against my cavalry. See, I have three out now. The goal was to have four cavalry and about 5 to 7 archers already, if I manage my resources correctly. And then only the siege engineering upgrade, because your archers can actually train siege engines. Here you can see I find his gold. He has a market. A market this early is debatable if you're sitting on this much gold, because that amount of gold is kind of an accident. Um, he will have moved a lot of villagers. You see, I'm just keeping my scout in range because I am ready. I have a few archers. I have the cavalry, but look how weak this army is. And this is already 8 minutes in. People usually go castle age in 8 minutes, guys. So this is very, very slow from my side. Um, but as you can see, just quickly from my perspective here, as I start the game, I know on this town center, right? If you come in here on the side, the woodline is exposed because you can't really defend it with this little canyon that you're in, the range of the site. If you're the English, you will have more range, but generally it will be very difficult to defend this. The gold is totally out of range, so this gold is a very, very easy point to raid. If I had to go for deer, that's all out here. That's easy to raid. Even the berries is very far out, so it's a very good map if you get this ancient spires to actually go for an early rush because of how the map is laid out. That you can actually get in and arrest the villagers. So I see this villagers. That's a gold mine, as the French, because you want to get this cavalry right on top of them. And make sure you click in advance a target so they actually charge in. They won't charge at the single villager, but anyone in that general area. So there the four cavalry is. You see, he's still sitting on a lot of resources, just running away. So I get in here a really, really decent charge. Two villagers going down already. Trying to get third one. Not really. I could have committed a little longer here, but I knew about the spearmen, so I was playing a little bit anxious. So I backed them off and I used the two archers. I mean, it's just two archers, but you can see they do quite significant damage versus the spearmen. They are a nice counter versus the spearmen. So I'm trying to get this cavalry to the villagers. He knows it, so I'm backing them off. I'm trying to plan another attack. So he sees that and he's, getting the tower up so you can protect those villagers much better because you just press G with the villager selected and they will automatically garrison in the closest building. Um, Another thing that the French has, I want to show you the fight as well. On your School of Cavalry, you have an upgrade here at the bottom. If you see, if I click on the Royal Knights. They have a ability that causes them to heal over time when they're not in combat. It's an upgrade in the French. Um, it is called. Let's quickly check. Chamber of Commerce, School of Cavalry. It is called Chivalry. You see, Royal Knights regenerate 1 health every 1 second when out of combat. I mean, you're going to wait 190 seconds for them to get full health, so you want to manage them properly. And the right thing to do at this point, you can see my resources are kind of dwindling against his right now, and it's basically four spearmen defending a very expensive army. If this had to go down, it's almost GG because you're losing a full castle age almost worth of resources. So I pick off the one spearman. He did move off of food here, so I'm kind of not sure where to go right now. And I am training that ram. So I can actually, if I had the 4 or 5 archers that you need in the start, it would have been much better. You see the charge advantage. Every single time I charge him, I'm picking off a villager or two, picking off a villager or two. And if I was managing my resources correctly, I should have a 7 to 10 villager lead already on top of him. because he can't farm food because I'm denying the food. He can't farm food because I'm denying the food. You can see he's micromanaging his food supply instead of just doing that. And this is very bad. Look how I sacrificed this ram. I'm sending the ram forward. I have only two archers picking off at something. I basically get one or two shots off. That's a very bad way to use the ram. I did get a single villager here at the back, right here with my cavalry, but there I lose my first horse. I didn't check what I was doing. I lose a second horse, and now I have to back off with two horses, and my effectiveness of the raid gets so much less. I have the army on my unit selected to actually move to rally here as they are being produced. So the archers are coming out, and you can see every single time I get close, they just go into the garrison. At this point, he's still focused on my army. I get a really nice find here at the back. I didn't see he was here at the back. It was just by chance that I ran them past this way, and I stopped chasing them. This was a perfect opportunity to get about 7 or 8 villagers. You can see how much resources now he's invested. He had over 800 gold. Um, so he's investing a ton of resources into getting some defense going against the constant siege that I have. If that was earlier, this was going to be a GG for him because I would have been on the wood line. You take your cavalry, you separate them into 2 or 3, just like this. Just that one cavalry raid is worth more than the 4 that I had earlier. And now I'm just using the archers to pick off that few villagers. I think he's getting the textile upgrade, not yet. There's an upgrade in your um, town center. It's called textiles. Gives them extra 25 health. Might not seem like much, but it is huge when you have these early raids. It's not a very expensive upgrade and very good to get. Again, didn't see what I was doing with my horse. I lose that. Now I have to micro my archers. Can't finish the ram. And you want to get in the early rush like this. I have idle archers. I have 6 working, 2 just standing there, and I had to move over to berries, so a very bad source of food. Um, it's much better if I could have stayed on the deer or even gone for the shore fish that you can see right there, because that's 1,000 food, and that is a very easy point to gather from. But we'll keep the map open now so you can also see it from his perspective. Um, Here the ram comes in. If I had the double ram, the one that I lost earlier, plus the 4 cavalry, the 2 that I lost here, the 1 that I lost here, it would have been very difficult for him to defend. He has 4 units. He is in Castle Edge. He did get his second landmark up, but he has nothing to defend. So if I had the cavalry plus the archers picking up these villagers with the range, very good to keybind your units at this point. Um, you can see the town center is targeting the villagers, but the ram usually draws the fire of the town center. But if you move in the villagers after, you can micro it. If the town center is focusing on the ram like it's doing now and is pushing in with the units, you can shortly bring them out and put them back in. They will retarget. And now you can see how exposed the second ram is. That archers you can see on his side, there's a few early men-at-arms here, which has ranged armor. That's a villager. There we go. 3 range armor. So essentially every archer is only doing 2 damage to that unit. It's very, very difficult to kill men-at-arms with standard archers if you don't have the blacksmith upgrade. So it's very dependent on what you're doing. I'm not even producing food here. I have 5 idle villagers just standing here. I eventually spot them, I think, when I look back right now, but I'm so focused on these archers and micromanaging against men-at-arms, trying to get another ram on, but I already failed the early game. So the better thing to do right now is just to back off, I play for the late game, and it's dangerous because the Holy Roman Empire, with their economy, it's very difficult to try and outboom them in a late game. You can see as archery in the barracks going up here. I have so many resources in the bank, but he already has a castle age. So if I don't focus, like here, I was focusing on my base again, moving villagers to get to this hunt, getting the dock up, getting the food supply. So I have every time I look back, I lose something. Every time I look forward, I have idle villagers. So it's this balance that you have to kind of learn between managing your villagers. There we go. Look at that. That is 16 villagers for a good 30 seconds. That's not going to do anything. I'm virtually losing, this is about just the 30 seconds that you walked from there today. It's it's probably a good 700 to 1,000 resources lost just because they have to go all the way from there to here. I didn't have enough wood to build, enough farms. I have a few farms out here. Um, I have one cavalry. He doesn't have units to counter me, so it's not like he could have ran across the map to come and counter the rush that I did and the army that I lost here in front. But he's still in a very good place because he has the Archon Chapel. It's one of the best landmarks in the game. As soon as you have the priest or the prelate in there, this whole ring units get buffed, and that allows any villagers, as you can see, they are inspired is the right word, and they can actually work faster. And I think it lasts for 30 seconds, and their carrying capacity is like a permanent upgrade to 14, not 10. So it's really good to get your villagers inspired. So I know there is this food line at the back. You can see I'm going to arrest that again. This is a very, very nice pick off, about 300 or 400 food that he loses off of this. I'm sitting on H2. I am able to go to H3, but because I'm micromanaging the army so much and not really attacking properly, I didn't even find this gold mine. Um, he he actually makes a mistake and builds a wood line instead of a gold mine. He was going for this gold because I did isolate his gold at the back, which is a really good thing against the Holy Roman Empire. Um, but they also get more gold from relics, and they also get a lot of advantages from holding the relics. So you can see there are 100 gold per minute just from having the one. If you can get three, some maps have five. You see there's one up here, um, one, two, three here. So if you had to get all five, that's 500 gold per minute, essentially 10 villagers of farming gold without a single villager of farming gold. So these units that I'm using is a big distraction for me to actually do something. So I sacrifice them, and now I have to start playing defensive because I have no idea how much resources he has. If I actually made a dent, I actually thought I made a good dent into his economy by picking off all the villagers. But if you think about it, there was more spearmen and early men at arms that was being picked off. Um, than villagers. So he's kind of stabilizing right now. He has some defense, some extra training coming up. This is a really nice upgrade, the marching drills. It allows the units to run much faster. They sometimes catch the cavalry. Sorry, my voice went away there. They sometimes catch the cavalry off guard. If you have this on your spearmen, it's very difficult to come in here with cavalry. And I know this because he's already shown that he has the spearmen that he was fighting with me. It was level 1 spearmen, but he did have them. So I am nervous of wasting more resources trying to pick off one or two villagers because I'm losing more. So he goes for walling. I think I also started getting nervous, and I finally got HV guild hall. If I remember correctly, I didn't even use my guild hall the entirety of this game. That is so much resources from this. Essentially, how it works is you get, I think, 20 resources Generates stone over time. The more resources stored, the faster they generate. So for every 200 resources, I think you get an extra 20. So by the time this gets to like 2 or 3 thousand, and you go for a single battle and you look back, there's about 6, 7. The highest I've had it was about 7,500 gold that I got instantly just from um, collecting the resources, and you can choose any of the four resources. So currently it's sitting on food. I have the villagers coming out there to get my gold income up. I have a few on wood. Nothing special here. It's better to have a lumber mill close by, so if you have the lumber mill just here on the front line, you see that it goes down. That's much better because you avoid all those walking distances. So it's all about how quickly you can get your resources in, and essentially have a strategy to fight them. I did remember he had men of arms, so I know the horses wouldn't have been a bad counter versus them because they are quite strong. So I trained up the men of arms here after the Royal Knights, for in case he was rushing, but in this case he was walling. Um, from my perspective, I did not know that. I still just knew that I had a little raid. I thought I had a nice villager lead, and I'm just going to town to boom as quickly as possible. I'm sitting on 1,700 food, 1,200 gold. Um, the best thing in this scenario was to have pushed for Castle Age, but because I'm nervous and I don't know all the right strategies, or the unexpectability of him possibly attacking me, I invest a ton of resources in training and upgrading my units. Um, there's 5 arbiters. I'll just call them, crossbowmen. Very difficult to pronounce that. I'm South African, by the way. Um, and just spending a lot of resources. I think I have the wood upgrades. Yes, second wood up, the lumber preservation going up there. I think the first one is called double broadaxe. I didn't upgrade the mill yet. I think I'm upgrading the gold mine here. Um, acid distil acid distillation. I'll start remembering these words. But even me, I'm scared of where he's gonna raid. The best way I could have walled this, if I was playing to my own advantage, and it's also learning how to play better, these walls could have gone much forward, like up to here, which would have secured this relic. It would have secured the second relic back here. I'm not sure if, I think he did scout this out. You can actually um, check from his perspective. It's not scouted out. So he did take the relics that was um, scouted out, but there's a second one or another one here and another one back there, and I think he's sitting on two, and probably one on its way to get delivered. You see, finally has the gold mine running, and he has 6, 7 villagers on the gold and one tower. One tower can only take 5 villagers, so if you are very scared of being raided, you can even essentially build 2 towers, and when you select them and press G, they will run to the closest tower, not necessarily all to one tower, and still lose villagers. Um, so you can see his units are starting to get upgraded. There's a special unit of the Holy Roman Empire called the Landsknecht. It's a light melee infantry, very powerful unit, 18 damage. And he saw me with these walls and the front view of some of his units that I was trying to ram rush him again. But this ended badly again for me. I already lost a Royal Knight there. I'm trying to defend this attack of his, but his units are quite strong. They have 5 melee armor, they have 15 damage. No extra damage versus cavalry, but I lose that fight. Um, so I have the one ram inside here. I should have cancelled this ram because it's 300 wood. There we go, 300 wood back in the bank. Um, and he's in such a good place. I have 5,000 food and 1,100 wood, and 1,300 gold. This is bad. If you get into this point, yes, I have a economy lead, but in this case, I should just go more spearmen. You take the wood, you build 10 barracks, mass spearmen. The men at arms will have some defense, and the crossbowmen will do some decent damage to them. But if you're coming in here with 30 or 40 units, you're going to overwhelm them very quickly, and by the time they're dead, you'll have the opportunity to just build 3 or 4 rounds quite quickly, use the market to trade in extra food for more wood, and just keep sieging him down until you basically starve him to death. So now I have a choice. I can, you can see I pulled villagers forward. There's 5 villagers waiting here. He does not know that, and I have this wall off. So my base is also walled off, same as him. So he knows where I can possibly come from. And right now, he has units this side. He has a few this side. Nothing really at the back. The back was actually open. You could have slipped through here. But I have 2 choices. I thought if I get a forward royal palace on the gold, I did use all my gold to train more units again because I want to get the men at arms out. That's the only thing I thought would be able to counter his men at arms. They have an upgrade as well, which is very strong when they get the um, the heavy maces. This is such a big counter to the French because if you have Royal Knights, that is a heavy armor unit, this upgrade is so good. His men at arms would just shred any knights that I have. Even the men at arms on my side would struggle. So he was trying to rush me here, but because I had the units in the Stealth Force here, I see it, and now I'm reacting to it. They were supposed to get an early palace up here, so now I know he's on the aggressive. So this Mangonel, if he was part of the fight, would have been really good. But I know right now I need to get this palace up as soon as possible. I think I pulled some more villagers shortly here. And I'm training men at arms. I have them stacked. If you press shift and you click W or Q, you train 5 at a time, so you don't have to click one by one at a time. And I'm training some, I did upgrade them, so there's veteran Royal Knights. I expanded to some farms here at the back, and I had the deep sea fish finished here. As you can see, there's nothing really else. I destroyed some fishing boats as well. I have a few on the shore fish as well. And I'm just using those to just keep my food production going with these shore-based fish. Um, Trying to maintain gold. But he has a really nice push here because it's 13 of his men at arms. Very strong team that he has going here, and I don't have much to counter, so I need to get this Royal Palace up. That's going to be my strongest defense against any of this army, and you'll see how this fight actually plays out. 2 random men at arms just standing here. They can't even see anything from that perspective. But you can see he's trying to get through, trying to get to the Royal Palace. Double Mangonel, really, really nice push from him here. And this is after I raided him. So you can see even with a lot of early pressure on him, I misplayed my French hand. Those units of his should have been on these villagers, because they would have killed the villagers before that finished. Now you can see I get this Royal Palace off, and his units will just start disappearing. There's no way this unit without proper siege is gonna survive. You can see every single second it's just like 2 or 3 units dying, and the range, because I'm up here, even the siege equipment is just disappearing. It's one unbelievably strong defensive landmark. This Royal Palace, Red Palace, excuse me. Another thing about the French, which is really nice, is any unit or unit producing buildings,
Assez, suis,
like the
Pierre, de mon
military
œuvre.
buildings, like barracks, cavalry,
Assez, Pierre, de
um,
mon œuvre.
um, what do you call it, archery range or stable. They get a bonus from your red palace, which gives your units a 20% reduced cost. Um, so that's really nice to have these men at arms coming out essentially cheaper than what they normally would.
Soudain,
So
ici
at
pour
this
l'ordre du
point, I am
commandement.
using
Je suis pour vos aiguilles.
my dwindling resources and the unknown amount of resources that he has because of the fact that he had this huge army that just attacked me after raiding. I thought that he actually managed to get up really, really nice resources. He just went Imperial Age. So he also has a landmark somewhere. There we go. Palace of Swabia. Oh my gosh, this is an amazing landmark to get as the Holy Roman Empire. Um, it is producing villagers at 5 seconds. A normal town center produces them at 20 seconds. It's 75% a reduction in villager count. So when you have this Palace of Swabia, your boom that you can do with villagers from this
Ich
perspective and get
verwittere,
to
es wird gut gehen.
120 villagers and insane wood and gold and food and push into, very forward gold veins like this one here or this one here. You can have such a defensive game by having that up. Um, I saw he sieged the wall down here, and I am accumulating quite a heavy defensive army here.
Posez-vous.
Um,
Oyez les
if you were the
commandements.
Holy Roman Empire, you should just have a scout or somewhere close by, just out of range of this tower, so you can kind of see what's happening.
Soudain,
Because he has the
voici les
units
commandements.
there, he has the siege here, so he has a very nice
Qu'allez-vous?
setup.
Veuillez
Um,
poursuivre.
but as soon as he, scratches the hornet's nest, you can see here the Red Palace how quickly they get rid of this bombard. It's just unbelievably strong. The Red Palace. If you want to take on the Red Palace, you should send in your men at arms as tanks to basically soak the damage from the Red Palace. I had to pull a few
Oyez
villagers to come and
tous.
repair this because
Voici
I
les
didn't know
commandements.
how much more units was sitting here at the back. And his response was good because he is training crossbowmen, which does extra damage versus heavy units. You can see 14 plus 9 versus heavy. So
Envoyez Moyen la Main.
the elite men at arms, you can see it's heavy melee infantry. So essentially, they will do each crossbowman will do 23 damage per attack to
Envoyez
the
Moyen à
elite
la
men at
bataille.
arms.
Nos
So
ordonnances
if he had
prêtes.
numbers of crossbowmen, it would have been a very difficult army to deal with as the French. But I do have my armor upgrades, and French has um, naturally
Les commandements,
they
les commandements.
automatically get the attack
J'attends les
upgrade. So
commandements et
I'm
les
doing
batailles.
17 damage. He has his elite land knights, which is a light melee infantry. So you can see the health difference
Baillez votre
between
commandement.
my
Je suis presse.
men at arms are 180 versus 95. They do have more damage, but because of the insane health difference and the damage upgrade the French has from the Imperial Age, if this was Castle Age, I would have lost this fight. But a really substantial number here. Still not pulling the bombard, still didn't train any mangonels. So I'm just microing my army to push forward to the priorities, and that's getting to the crossbowmen. You can see my crossbowmen moving in so they can have consistent firing going on. We are out of the Red Palace range, but I have the mangonels going off, and that was just a very strong um, fight from my side. And you can see I still have over 40, almost 50 units. So it means that that early raiding that we did to disrupt his gold mine, to disrupt his food supply, to find the villagers here at the back, and to disrupt that food supply. It really did eventually, win the game. It's not necessarily an immediate win, but you can see the scaling difference of the units, and he GG's out. So yeah, that was a game of French versus the Holy Roman Empire on ancient spires. I am still quite new to streaming, so I am going to try and make more of these videos and trying to get this early French rush right. But it is quite nice to show you guys these games and learn together how we play as intermediate players. It's not necessarily, pro league, you know, um, top 100 players, just learning how to play the factions correctly and what to focus on, and actually just chat about what's actually happening, because there's a lot of things and it's such a fun game to play. But if you guys like the content, please consider leaving a like and a subscribe. It is a new channel. I'm gonna try and upload at least 2 to 3 times a week if I can. I'm doing this part time, but if you manage to watch all the way to the end, I do appreciate it. Do leave a like and subscribe if you don't mind, and then catch you in the next.